Chapter 347, Digging Out the Demon's Heart. This chapter is updated by Novels.pl. Under the control of Zhang Yuochen, nearly 1,000 ice swords turned into light columns, leaving behind streaks of sword path. As they shot towards Di Yi swallowed a green pill and began to recover his genuine chi. At the same time, he stopped using ghost-level sword technique. Depending only on his strong saintly being, Di Yi ceaselessly crushed the ice sword with repeated claw marks. While running towards Zhang Yuochen, he decided to end the fight quickly. He couldn't give Zhang Yuochen any more chances to burn out his genuine chi. Swoosh! When Di Yi rushed to Zhang Yuochen, he finally moved his genuine chi into the Black Dragon Ghost Claw. A pair of fists with black light, like two black dragon claws, reached for Zhang Yuochen's abdomen. Di Yi, you think I'll be beaten in a melee? Zhang Yuochen moved himself to the right to avoid Di Yi's claw prints and attacked him on the left shoulder with one palm. Bam! The innate magic chi shook suddenly and Di Yi walked 2 steps backward. Zhang Yuochen almost broke Di Yi's defense with a single hit. Di Yi was very angry. Zhang Yuochen's speed really is faster than mine. Now, Di Yi was almost sure that Zhang Yuochen has reached the ultimate realm of the Earth realm. It was bad news for him. Reaching the ultimate realm meant that Zhang Yuochen could bring down Cord of Gods. The Cord of Gods could bring unimaginable benefits for warriors to bridge the gap between non-saintly beings and saintly beings. Snick. Again, Zhang Yuochen gave full play to his high speed. He appeared behind Di Yi to cut his cervical spine with his sword. Swoosh! The white bone sword inset in Di Yi's spine flew out by itself, like a bone whip, to hit the Abyss Ancient Sword. The power of a 10th level genuine martial arms could not be compared by a 9th level genuine martial arms. Each time the Abyss Ancient Sword bumped into it, the pain which Zhang Yuochen felt was unbearable, like a stone hitting his chest. However, he still persisted and continued to swing his sword. In one breath, Zhang Yuochen cut more than 80 times in a row. Each one contained his utmost effort. The sword radiance, like a tempest, fell down to crash into the white bone sword, producing a pounding sound. Di Yi just controlled the white sword without turning round to constantly resist the attacks from Zhang Yuochen. He smiled and said, Zhang Yuochen, you want to challenge my 10th level genuine martial arms with just your broken sword? Suddenly, Di Yi's face changed. He heard a loud crashing sound from behind him. Boom! There came a loud noise. Finally, Zhang Yuochen broke the white bone sword when he made the 103rd cut. No, how could you? Di Yi felt a hot pain on his back. A warm stream flowed down from his neck, thoroughly drenching his robe. It was blood. The last hit not only broke the white sword but also left an inch-deep cut on Di Yi's neck, chopping off the muscle and exposed the bone there. Although the white sword was broken, Zhang Yuochen also got hurt by the sword chi. The Abyss Ancient Sword was extremely sharp, but it was just a 9th level genuine martial arm, much less powerful than the white bone sword. In order to cut the bone sword, the sharp Abyss Ancient Sword had to chop the same part of it endlessly. From the previous fight, the sword chi from the white bone sword had left dozens of scars on Zhang Yuochen's arms. His arms were badly mutilated with flowing blood and half-broken blood meridians. Zhang Yuochen originally wanted to cleave Di Yi's neck with that single cut. When the Abyss Ancient Sword hit Di Yi on his bones unexpectedly gave off a colorful light, which blocked the sword. Di Yi's bones were colorful instead of white upon a closer look. It could be determined from this that Di Yi practiced the saintly being of 5 elements. No common warrior's bones could be compared with those of saintly beings. The power of the bones of a saintly being was no less than that of a half-saint. Di Yi escaped death owing to his strong bones. Zhang Yuochen immediately attacked again after failing to cut through Di Yi's neck. He directed the genuine chi to his meridians in his legs and kicked Di Yi's back. Pow! A powerful force strike on his back and Di Yi felt a sharp pain in his 5 internal organs. Crackling sounds seemed to be coming from his body and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Di Yi flew out. The pain made him endlessly spit out blood. It was certain that his 5 internal organs were heavily injured, even broken. A darkness was in front of his eyes. He felt top-heavy as if he was on the verge of fainting. The audience in the distance was totally astonished. Those warriors who thought Di Yi was sure to win before all felt surprised and said, "How did this happen? Why can Jiang Yuochen suppress Di Yi? Is the demon's heart of saintly beings so weak?" It is not the weak demon's heart of saintly being, but it's because Jiang Yuochen is too incredible. Have you noticed that Jiang Yuochen's speed is much faster than that of Di Yi's? What's more, Jiang Yuochen practices the heart integrated into sword, the advanced realm which Di Yi has not reached. Maybe Jiang Yuochen really has the Dragon Sarira. Someone guessed. At these words, everyone was silent and then nodded their heads. Without the Dragon Sarira, Jiang Yuochen definitely could not beat the demon's heart of saintly beings. This was the only reasonable explanation. Even Lei Jing and Chen Ying also wore a solemn look, because they also felt that Jiang Yuochen was likely to have gotten the Dragon Sarira and received Buddhist Emperor and Golden Dragon's inheritance. Once this matter was spread about, it was going to shock the whole world, even the high level of the Thousand Buddhas sect and the First Central Dynasty. The inheritance of the 9 emperors was no small matter. Lei Jing frowned and said, "Today's fight, once it gets out, will make Jiang Yuochen's future difficult. It is not necessarily a bad thing for him." Chen Ying said. Lei Jing nodded with an intimidating stare and said, "As long as I live, I will protect him. If anyone dares to hurt him, he has to beat me first." "No, I have the demon's heart of saintly being. How could I lose to a nobody from the back country?" Di Yi's heart nearly collapsed, but he was not satisfied. By dint of his strong will, he steadied his body and prepared to fight back. At this moment, Jiang Yuochen, like a juvenile sword fairy, flew down from above the 9 heavens. Clasping his sword in his hands, he cut down to form a sword chi like a waterfall. Di Yi knew that in his current state, he was unable to ward off the sword. "Jiang Yuochen, it is you who have cornered me." When Di Yi's hands were put together, the sacred mark of his globalu emerged. A small vortex was born with the sacred mark as the center. The whirlpool grew larger and larger, and Jiang Yuochen was caught up in it. Jiang Yuochen immediately took control of his own body and looked toward the center of the vortex, finding, faintly, that in the depth of the globula of Di Yi's eyebrows, an ancient crimson seal was suspended. That was a holy weapon. Di Yi actually had to use the power of the holy weapon. Jiang Yuochen felt a little surprised, and immediately cast the shadow of the royal wind dragon to escape the vortex. Even if the holy weapon only gave off a burst of power, it was not something Jiang Yuochen could resist now. "You want to escape? It's too late." "Ha ha." Di Yi's face was extremely ferocious with a wild laugh. That ancient crimson seal in his chi flew out under the impetus of his genuine chi and floated above Jiang Yuochen's head. Looking up, it could be seen that the ancient seal had become more than 30 meters tall. The entire seal burst into flames and slowly rotated over the sky, emitting an ancient holy aura. The 30-meter-tall ancient crimson seal, as tall as a 10-story building, was extremely large. Jiang Yuochen stood under the ancient seal, like a tiny ant. Just as Di Yi used their holy weapon, Lei Jing and Chen Ying rushed to Jiang Yuochen at almost the same time, ready to save him. However, the 7 Kills emissaries rushed out and arranged a 7-star array battle to delay the both of them. "Today, Jiang Yuochen must be killed by the holy weapon. You are unable to save him." Purple Wind emissary said coldly. Lei Jing shouted, "Di Yi is obviously not a match for Jiang Yuochen. Even if he wins by the holy weapon, so what?" The Purple Wind emissary said, "As long as Jiang Yuochen dies, the young master will be the winner." Without further nonsense, Lei Jing immediately exerted the blood magic shadow, condensing it into a huge god's shadow of a cow head, and struck at the 7-star array battle. "Jiang Yuochen, you must hold on, don't die under the holy weapon." The 7-star array battle completely connected the power of the 7 Kills emissaries and made it pull on Lei Jing and Chen Ying, not giving them the chance to rescue Jiang Yuochen. "Jiang Yuochen, today I'll teach you a truth. The living person is a king, and the deceased one is a loser. Everything is about to be over." Di Yi laughed loudly and took control of the huge ancient seal and pressed it down on Jiang Yuochen. Di Yi's face was beaded with sweat, and his body was trembling with protruding meridians. Obviously, It is not an easy task to control the holy weapon. At the same time, Zhang Yuochen immediately injected genuine qi into the dragon pearl to activate its power. Swoosh! A layer of golden light rushed out of Zhang Yuochen's body and wrapped around his body. It even managed to block the holy weapon. Using the holy weapon, Di Yi almost exhausted his qi instantaneously. Even a better part of the blood in his body had been burned. The blow did not kill Zhang Yuochen, and Di Yi did not have the power to use the holy weapon again. How could it be? Di Yi's eyelids felt increasingly heavy, and he could no longer control the ancient seal. In the end, his qi completely dried up. Snick. Losing power, the ancient seal became a light spot and flew back to Di Yi's globula. How could Zhang Yuochen miss such a good opportunity? His forefinger and middle finger converged into sword skill and performed the sword defending technique. He mobilized the Abyss Ancient Sword to stab Di Yi's heart. Crack! The Abyss Ancient Sword became a stream of light, smashing through Di Yi's celestial body shield. The sword pierced into the pit of his stomach and punctured his heart's arteries. It passed through his body, leaving a blood hole behind. His demon's heart was dug out. No! Di Yi screamed and reached out with a hand, trying to grasp the demon's heart. Unfortunately, Di Yi's genuine qi as well as his spiritual blood was greatly damaged, which left him strengthless. He could only watch the demon's heart fall into the water like a fireball. PHHT. When the demon's heart entered the water, the entire body of water oiled and bubbles appeared one by one. The change took place suddenly. Clearly, earlier on, Di Yi had the absolute upper hand and was going to use the holy weapon to kill Zhang Yuochen in an instant. However, in a moment, the scene changed. Zhang Yuochen even launched a counterattack under the attack of the holy weapon. Not only did he heavily injure Di Yi, he also dug out Di Yi's heart. Even the 7 Kills emissaries, who were still controlling Lei Jing and Chen Ying, were all stunned. The 7 of them looked at Di Yi falling from the sky in the distance. They were all confused. The young master had already displayed his holy weapon, but he still failed.